most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. On this 8th day of June, it's my mom's birthday. I had to send her something from the Cash App. 2023, right? No more cards. Just a load on the Cash App and a few dollars and a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Mom, if you're watching the program. Got a good show tonight. Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook was cut today by Minnesota, saved some money there. And I didn't realize this guy's 28. Somebody's going to get a good running back. And it looks like the leader is going to be the Dolphins. Also, Bryce Young, already named the starter. We'll talk about that situation there. Zion Williamson kind of got embarrassed on the internet. I'll have to say that. A lot more embarrassment rather than actual criticism for Zion Williamson. Also, obviously, we're going to talk about Game 2. We'll be back here. I'll be back here in 49 seconds after our break and jump right into the NBA Finals Game 2 here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Then I'm back here live on all links. Okay, now Denver and this coach, Mike Malone, I really like this guy. For one thing, he thinks almost verbatimly, as I'm thinking, he almost sees verbatimly of what I see in this particular series. Just not just the basic talks about, getting the loose balls and all that stuff. But, everything I said that they should do, Denver should do, they should take it, for instance, taking advantage of their height, getting more points inside the paint, even use the terminology. It's not letting them, it's the idea of you're going to have to take this from Miami, okay? You're going to have to take this champion. They're not going to give it to you. This team was in the finals a few years ago. They were in the conference finals last year. They expect to win. They're not happy just to be here. Listen to the pregame speech. I got this little sound. It's not going to be perfect sound because I got it off my TV. But I like, because I recorded the game. And I like what Coach Malone said, Pickles. Listen up. Well, as soon as I find it, I'm hitting the wrong buttons here. All righty then. Here we go.
Help each other out of both ends. We got 30 to 48 minutes tonight. All right, we have dominated 6 quarters out of the 8. The fourth quarter has given us issues. All right, play for 48 minutes tonight. The second thing is this. Jess, how many years you been in the league? 16. This is your second time in the NBA Finals? Yeah. DJ, how many years in the league? You been in the finals before? First time. Ish, how many years in the league? 2. First time in the finals? Enjoy this moment, enjoy this opportunity, and embrace it. And play with an urgency and a desperation that embodies that. We didn't have that in Game 2. That's who we are. That's why we're here. Go out there and take it.
Go out there and take it. And that's exactly what they did. You've got to play 4 quarters. You can't sleepwalk it. He said that because he thinks that this team is all about just drawing a paycheck. You're Matt Ryan's, no offense to Matt Ryan's, but I always thought he's the guy that just enjoyed drawing the paycheck. He really didn't care if he win or lose. There's other players that will throw a chair through a locker. that they busted their rear end off, and they want to win at all costs. And he tagged into that. So listen to, and this was what I said on Monday after the game on Monday. Very similar there.
Your team, you got the number 1 seed. You're playing a team that historically has went on the road. Every odd is stacked against the Miami Heat. You're not entitled to this game. You're going to have to fight these guys tooth and nails. Like my dad used to say in stuff in life, you got to take it.
See, that's the key word. Take it. You got to finish this game in the fourth quarter. Pickles says four quarters, Denver wins. Yeah, you have to look at it as if you're a closer. You're a Mariano Rivera. You are here to close this game out. And I like how that they fought on every single loose ball. They got the ball inside the paint. Now, they didn't use Porter like I thought they would, but I said also on Monday after Sunday's, these long layoffs, after Sunday's game, I said, no, they don't need to, with this height advantage, with this kind of height advantage, they need about 25 more points in the paint. And, of course, listen to what they got. Let's go back to these team stats here, folks, if I can get squared away. Let's see. Got 1,000. Here we go. Okay. Points in the paint, Pickles, 60-34. That's 26. I said, and they need to have about 25 more points in the game. Well, they got 26. Denver, 60 points in the paint to 34 for Miami. Rebounds. I said, they don't need just a few more rebounds. You got a 6'10" guy. You got a 6'8" small forward there, 6'10" power forward. That is not your center. Your center is the Joker at 6'11", Pickles. This is very throwback, the Joker at 6'11". So you said, well, what's the answer? They got 25 more rebounds as well, 58-33. Okay. Did they get 3-ball happy? No. 5 for 18, 11 for 35, Carlos, from the Miami Heat. I thought the Heat would kind of cool. You need other guys to play well other than Jamal Murray and the Joker who brings it every bleeping night. So they got their Austin Reeves. They got their Duncan Robertson, Pickles. They got their glass plant. Get the Windex out, Pickle. Get the Windex out with them kind of stats, man. I really like a team that communicates, that plays to the ball, that plays 110% up to their strength. And this was a road game, 15-point road game. And it was to me, I thought it was a work of art. I'm not a Denver Nugget fan. I'm out of Nashville. I kind of like to see Memphis win. But it was a work of art in the way this team communicated. Aaron Gordon, his stats will not show up in the stat sheet. But, man, he played some wicked defense out there. Wicked second chance points. He did miss some free throws that he probably should. But he's playing like Aaron Gordon, the former Orlando Magic, knows what it's like to be on a loser. And now he's in the finals. He's playing like the worm, Dennis Rodman out there. Not as over the top as Rodman, don't as a foul like Rodman, but he's shooting free throws like Rodman, and he's staying on the ball like Rodman. But to what I was about to say earlier, you say, well, who are you talking about here? I'm talking to a guy by the name of Christian Braun. He is their Austin Reeves. He is the Duncan Robertson. It's pronounced, according to Mike Breen, Christian Brown. But it's spelled, guys. This rookie out of Kansas, his name is spelled Braun. And I'll tell you what, he put the clamps on Jimmy Butler at times. He put the clamps on. He made some hustle plays, really good passes. He got a fast break to the basket. I thought he was playing out of control. I didn't think he was going to hit it. And the guy has this guy Braun, game of his life, man. He's 7 for 8, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 personal foul, 15 points. And man, that was the difference in the game right there. That's exactly what this team won by. What was 15 points. We know that Joker 32, 10, and 21 rebounds, 5 personal fouls. That's called getting physical, like the late, great Olivia Newton-John song goes. Let's get physical. The Joker almost fouled out of the game, but he didn't. Here's some more interesting. Now, giving the love to the stars here. I got this off of ESPN. Thank you, Olivia. I got this off ESPN stats here. 80% of teams that win the series after winning games 3 when tied 1-1. Another stat that really favors this Nuggets team. I got to also say this. This was also presented by ESPN. I got this off their Twitter page. The Joker leads all players in points, rebounds, and assists in 2023 playoffs. If this holds, if this holds, he will be the first player in NBA history to lead in all 3 for a full postseason. I mean, this dude is playing out of his mind right now. You know, and like I was telling you guys yesterday, I've been watching this Bill Walton documentary. Part of it's basketball with 70s Grateful Dead music. I like that decade of music. It's really good. And I think about a Bill Walton in year 3, not Bill Walton that was injured the first couple of years, but Bill Walton in year 3 when he bulked up and that team got a new coach, Jack Ramsey. And I'll tell you what, he didn't back down from anybody. His passing ability, his scoring ability on the inside, that basketball IQ. This guy's, he hasn't got Bill Walton's resume yet. Walton's got 2 rings, one with the Blazers and one with Boston. But I do think they're on their way. Now, all this means never mind if for whatever reason they lose, if they don't win 2 more games. Also, you got to look at Murray. Murray probably saw what Steve Kerr, Draymond Green were talking about on this podcast. I'm the head of the snake. Okay, I'm going to bring it too. Jamal Murray, this was a stats and info thing. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic are the first teammates in NBA history, regular season and or playoffs, to each score 30-point triple-doubles in the same game. That's unbelievable. They are also the first teammates to have 30 points, 10 assists in the same playoff game, other than Clyde Drexler and Terry Porter back in '92, and I remember that series. Of course, they lost that series. They end up losing that series to the Chicago Bulls. Listen to Mike Malone going into the 4th quarter last night to try to remind these guys, yeah, you're playing well. You're seeing those white shirts. They do the whiteout games in Miami, and they have a league they seem to establish. But remember what happened when they had the 15-point lead in Denver on Sunday night. Duncan Robinson hits a flurry of shots, Carlos, very almost Reggie Miller-like against the Knicks in '95. Listen, he reiterates what he said in pregame. Mike Malone at the end of their 3rd quarter.
Hey, first 2 games, they won the 4th quarter. Tonight, we win the 4th quarter. We win the game. All right? Do what our defense.
Yeah, the first 2 games, they won the 4th quarter. Tonight, we win the 4th. Very John Voight and Varsity Blues, I want to say. Hit movie in the 1999 Tonight, we play Bingville. Tonight, we beat Bingville. And he's saying tonight, we win the fourth quarter. We finish this game out. We close up. So they played really well. Road game. Took the crowd out midway through the third quarter. Kept them out. Looks like a really good run here going for Denver. They got 2 more to go. You cannot write Miami off. My original prediction, this would probably go 5 games. There's still a chance Miami could come back and shoot the lights out tomorrow, although Tyler Hero has been already ruled out for the Heat. I've learned the hard way not to doubt this team. If I'm Denver, I'll say, listen, you got 2 more games. Don't read those stat lines. Don't be watching ESPN. Don't be scrolling through Twitter and Instagram. Stop reading your press clippings, right, Pickles? Go out there and win these other 2 games. Again, they're not going to give them to you. You're going to have to take them. Pickles says game 5 either way will be a war. Yeah. And my guess is somebody from Miami will probably get thrown out because they got a lot of pride, man. They got a lot of pride. Maybe Bam fouls out. Maybe Butler gets a couple of technicals. Maybe one of their bench guys get technicals. They're going to go out. They're going to go out swinging. That's their nature. Carlos says if Miami gets these players in a half-court game for Miami to set the tone, it's harder for Denver. However, Denver can overcome that press with Spoelstra. Yeah, now I'll disagree. If you get them in a half-court deal, remember, Denver has a huge size advantage. Miami was going to have to use their bench, in which they do, and they're going to have to stop relying on the 3, get other higher percentage shots. They're going to have to risk getting charges, going to the rim, and that's another thing. They went straight to the rim a lot, coast to coast. I like that coast to coast play by Joker. I like the one by this guy Christian Brown, also known as Christian Brahm, which Christian will show up. And of course, Jamal Murray was just money. He seemed to be everywhere. He seemed to be a step ahead of everybody. I was really surprised that Miami actually looked as slow as they did because they have not looked this slow in the other games of the series. In my opinion, they are the faster team. They seem like the more athletic team. But maybe it was simply that Denver was not giving up on any loose ball, absolutely whatsoever, running people down, and that's how you win championships. Woo, man, that is a mouthful. Let me get a swig of water on that one. Either way, I look forward to a good game, Carlos. Hopefully you'll be on tomorrow. We'll talk about that game and a couple of things I was wanting to send you. Hope all is well out there in New York. I know it's a kind of a crazy haze. I want to say a lot of MLB games canceled because of the brush fires all the way up in Canada. Apparently that is still going on. Okay. So let me make sure that I got everything. Fourth quarter, Denver losses. Okay. All right. You know something? I'll say this. Dalvin Cook. Now, Dalvin Cook was cut today. Dalvin Cook is 28 years old. I did not know that he was that young, folks. I actually thought he was about 31. And, he's got Cook has got really good numbers receiving last year. 295 yards, received 39 catches for Cook. And he wasn't even in the same offense that he was in years past for Dalvin Cook. Now, the reason being for this, Minnesota will save $5.1 million, $2 million this year in cash, which they can use to bring in another player if needed. $3.1 million, 24. But overall, it will free up $9 million in cap space this year, $12.5 million next year. And Spot Track says that Alexander Matson here has 2 years, $7 million. he's a drop off from Calvin. I'll say this: Dalvin Cook is a guy who has lived up to his billing. He's a guy who's earned every penny that they've given to him. Like I said, he'll be 28 August 10th. So you talk about a guy. He came in at 22, second round pick. This is an ideal play though. You talk about a very valuable quality. Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson have been 2 home runs for Minnesota Viking management, I'll have to say. And, you look at a guy like Cook running out from underneath. Who was this guy that coached him? Gary Kubiak. Gary Kubiak was the head coach there, offensive coordinator there for a few years. Excuse me, not the head coach. Kubiak was the offensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos when Terrell Davis ran his 2,000 yards. They went back-to-back Super Bowl wins. He was also the head coach there for when Houston had their run there, and Aaron Foster went crazy with his running skills. So this guy is really good at the running game. That zone blocking running scheme that he used under Kyle Shanahan under Mike Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, his Mike's son, uses that same blocking running scheme also. So it's for certain running guys like Dalvin Cook with his vision, his speed, his vision, his football acumen. It's perfect for what he does. A dual threat running back like that, a passer and a rusher. I've seen this team, and I'm not a big running back guy. You guys know that. But if you get a good running back in that good block and running scheme, he can make a mediocre quarterback look good. And it makes me think about Saquon Barkley holding out potentially for the New York Giants when you've got a guy like Daniel Jones at quarterback. So that could be an issue for them. As far as Dalvin Cook, he's going to be a bigger free agent than I originally expected him to be. There's already a lot of talks about Mike McDaniels. He was asked today in his press conference. I guess everybody's doing these mandatory mini camps in June, and McDaniels is playing dumb, kind of just talking gibberish. I didn't even want to play the soundbite from Mike McDaniels on Dalvin Cook, but he was just saying in so many words, I'm not saying a lot because I'm really trying to get this guy here. Dalvin Cook is a Miami native, and I looked at that Miami roster there. I like Raheem Mostert. I want to say he tore his ACL. He's had multiple leg injuries that has held him back over the years. Very lucky, fortunate for him that McDaniels, who was also former of the 49ers, brought him and Jeff Wilson over. Raheem Mostert, really good fantasy guy when he's healthy. They did not run the ball enough. They did not run the ball enough when he was at Miami. But with Dalvin Cook there, with that same type of zone block and running scheme, if Miami can find a way to bring him in there, that is a big upgrade. I remember watching Cook in Minnesota going against the number one run defense, and the only thing that Minnesota could do at that number one Tampa Bay run defense a few years ago was Dalvin Cook going. And he ended up getting 100 yards against that best run defense in the league. I thought, man, can you imagine Dalvin Cook with Miami? Now, I'm also looking at Tua there. Tua has put on the proper weight. His thighs, he's doing a lot of leg work. He's looking like his former teammate at Alabama there. The guy's name, Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts can squat 600 pounds. Jalen Hurts could squat sit, but I'm thinking if they can find a way to sign Dalvin Cook for a modest contract and rely on that running game more than they have in the past. Lean on that running game and not the Bible says lean on the Lord and not your own understanding. If Miami, think about this for a second, guys. If Miami can lean on that running game with the Dalvin Cook, even when it's really tempting to throw the ball to one of those game breakers on the outside and get, you have to, when you run the ball in the NFL, and all the great running backs will say that, you have to establish some type of rhythm, okay? You don't necessarily have to keep calling running games that are like a Jeff Fisher would do, right up the middle into the teeth of the defense. There's other ways to get a guy like him the ball out of the backfield. He's a Miami native. Pickle says he can catch the flare out of the backfield. Yeah, so if you've got essentially Jalen Waddle on one side, 400-meter guy, the cheetah on the other side, and you've gotten these guys running streaks in the NFL, what they're called streaks, and you're pulling a safety out of the box there, and you're pulling a linebacker out in coverage, that little delayed handoff, that little shovel pass, that little bubble screen, for most people, that would be a 3 to 4 yard, really good little play. For a guy like Dalvin Cook down in Miami in September, that could be a 30-yard play. That could be a 46-yard touchdown run, even at 28 years old. And so I'll put it this way. I know that DeAndre Hopkins is coming to Tennessee. If for whatever reason, if he came to Tennessee Sunday and decided to sign with the Titans, I'll have to reevaluate their win-loss record. If Dalvin Cook came to Miami and they said, we're going to commit to this running game, and then when they want to really take this running game serious, the AFC East, then we'll get these guys that ball in space. Because you could throw a guy like, I think, me personally, Jalen Waddle is so talented, you could open up your route sheet for him. He doesn't have to do those routes that Tyreek Hill. And that being said, Tyreek Hill has learned the zone down to a science. I'll say that he was not the good route runner he is now his second year in the league. Most players, they don't really take a step past the second year. Not unless you're one of these workaholic quarterback types that you have to take that next step. Most players, not unless you're a Michael Parsons, he's a non-quarterback. I think he takes his game very serious, studies, Ed Reed for defense. But I'll give it to Tyreek Hill. He's learned to sit in that zone and not continue to run out. And because, for one thing, he knows Tua don't got that arm strength of a Patrick Mahomes, but he does learn how to sit in that zone. I had no idea Dalvin Cook was only 28. He'll be 28. So, been in the league 6 years. This dude's going to be a steal for them if they can find a way to squeeze him in. It's a big drop off between him and them. I would say that, but he can have a a renaissance, a resurrection of his career. Something like that could happen. I'm not a big running back guy. I would have. Ideally, you never want to even get a running back a second contract. I know that's cold-hearted, but it's a business. But that's just the truth. But if you got a mediocre quarterback he really helped out Kirk Cousins, okay, and the guy before Kirk Cousins, who was a clown before him, that they got the NFC Championship game because he had the right run blocking scheme that is exactly what this guy's good at doing. He's good. He's got to build the ship. So, he'd be a great fantasy. He's always been a great fantasy player, Dalvin Cook there. But so I do think he's going to get some takers. Now, would I go crazy and offer him a big bunch of money? No, that's insane in the membrane. Now, Zeke Elliott hadn't got re-signed yet, But Cook's a better player. He's got much more left in the tank than a Zeke Elliott. Better at catching the ball out of the backfield, got more explosion. He's a better scorer. So somebody's going to get a one man's trash is another team's treasure, right? Somebody's going to get a good play there with Dalvin Cook after I did a deep dive in his numbers and his age. But if I'm him, I'm going to somebody that's got that similar zone. And I was looking at some of the Odd Shark. A lot of talk about Dalvin Cook today. Odd Shark put out that the Jets would be favored to get him. Miami Jets are plus 600. Miami's plus 625. Dallas would be plus 6. Now, Dallas would be interesting if he could go to Dallas for the right price. Pollard's coming back from injury. Zeke Elliott has been released. He's still a free agent. You trade Ezekiel Elliott for Dalvin Cook. I'll take Dalvin Cook. Okay. The Bears plus 1,000. There's no way if I'm Cook, I'm going to the Bears. Arizona. Now, maybe Buffalo, but they did sign Harris there, Damian Harris. Denver's plus 1,500. Only way he would take Denver if Javonte Williams is not 100%. He's coming back from a pretty serious leg injury. If there's some issue there, maybe Denver, he would do decent there in Denver. I could see Sean Payton saying that's a poor man's Alvin Kamara right there. That guy's not too far from Alvin Kamara, although he sticks inside more than Kamara. Kamara wants to throw that ball. He wants to Kamara wants to break it down, but for Kamara's size, I'll give him credit. He has done really well for a smaller back. I didn't think he was going to have the pro career that he's had. And he could get released at any time, too. He's still looking at possibly getting in trouble for that Las Vegas incident a few years ago at the Pro Bowl. Okay. All righty then. One more. Okay. Now, Bryce Young. And like I said, I'm not one to be hyperbolic. I'm not one to be a narrative guy. This is something that I want to be the difference between my competition and myself. But I will say this, and being all due honest, I am surprised that this early in the game, we're talking June mini camps with the veteran coaching staff like Frank Wright up there in North Carolina for the Panthers. And they've got a guy like Andy Dalton who I'm sure knows that system. Dalton's a quick study. He's been to playoff games. He's not the most talented guy in the world, but they've already named Bryce Young the starter up there in Carolina. We knew it was inedible, but I've watched a lot of this stuff. I pay attention probably more than I should, right, Pickles? But I remember who was it? Urban Meyer said Trevor Lawrence. Think about Trevor Lawrence's height. He said Trevor, at this point when he was, maybe it's a bad example, but just for example, at this point in June of Trevor Lawrence's rookie year, he's like, I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is going to be the guy. Maybe Gardner Minshew. And if you guys recall, Lawrence, during his preseason games, he had a slow release. He was just a tick off everywhere. And some people were concerned about Trevor Lawrence. I said, man, this guy kind of got the long release. He's a little bit lanky out there. You need to tighten up his throws. He needs to use the running back more. And we saw what happened the rookie year. It was okay at times. He had some moments. And then last year, boom, blossomed out. And they won the division and won a playoff game. And in the playoffs there, and had some big upsets there too. Had some big upsets during the regular season. But Bryce Young being made the starter, it's because he's picking up on that playbook so quick. I went back and looked at it. I talked about this before. They've got this new test. It's somewhat new, but it's more modern than the Wonderlic test. It's called the S2 Cognitive Test, Cognation or whatever, $50 word there, and it talks about it's about your reading reaction time, and he had a 98. It was one of the best ones ever. Bryce Young had a 98 on this test. Now, this guy, Jake Heidner from Fresno State, there's been a lot of hype about him from a guy that's not really been talked about. Played for Fresno State. He had second on that. Now, Tennessee's Will Levis, 93%. Levis has had, now he was third in this test. Will Levis, the Titans, Will Levis was third. Anthony Richardson, he scored 79. And Hendon Hooker, the two SEC guys had a 79 and a 46. Bryce Young, Hendon Hooker had a 46 on there. That was a big knock on Hooker. He's playing a spread offense, playing those wide, getting those players really wide on the sideline, doing that Baylor offense that Tennessee does. Now, I still like Hooker's got a guy, was 25 last year, though, and he scored really low on this test, and he's coming back from an injury. But running that type of spread offense, that you can't do that every play in the NFL. You can't run the super hurry up in the NFL. We saw that with Chip Kelly when he was with the Eagles. It worked for a little while, but the team worn down. So, but Bryce Young, 98, man. I mean, that dude, with that is huge for Panther fans. So, they've got a above average. They got a true left tackle they're good with. They got above average offensive line to good. They have a good defensive line. I think it would be, was it Derek Brown? I really like him over the middle there. So they've got somebody there. Now, mind you, they did trade away DJ Moore, an elite route runner, but they drafted a guy that's supposed to be a pearl out of Ole Miss. His name is Mingo. What is his name here? I had it wrote down. I had their draft picks wrote down here. Jonathan Mingo. You remember the last couple of guys that kind of fell to the second round from Ole Miss. One of them was named A.J. Brown. The other one was named D.K. Metcalf. They played together at Ole Miss. Guys are the big, strong guys, not air quote elite route runners. But this guy got a lot of hype. He didn't get the hype of a Jordan Addison. Okay, Jason Nijma from Ohio State. He didn't get that hype. That these guys get. He ran a 4.46, which is pretty good. But I think with a guy like Bryce Young, now my only knock on him was, and it's still the knock on him, will be consistent. His original measurements coming into the combine, which I trust more in pro day. I don't know about pro day. I think pro day stuff can be doctored, but because that's from this college team. The combine said he was 5'10", 192. That's freaking small, man. So that's my concern about this guy. So there is a little bit of Tua going on there. And maybe he's got to get on the weight program that the Tua's got. Tua led the whole NFL in QBR for several weeks last year. Led the league in QBR last year. And, of course, we all know what happened with his concussion issues and everything else and his injury history before those concussions. So that's my issue with Bryce Young. But I do think they're going to be a fun team to watch. I think he's going to look like a more talented Mac Jones. Remember how quickly Mac Jones picked up on the original offense when they had McDaniels there. And if you guys recall, let's go back to the preseason of Mac Jones' rookie year. Not last year, that was the second year. I think Mac Jones is going to have a big turnaround year, by the way. But if you go back to Mac Jones' rookie year in preseason, he was so good that they ended up cutting Cam Newton. Remember that? They ended up cutting Cam Newton, making him the starter. They won 10 games that year. They won 10 games, got to the playoffs. Now they got demolished by a red-hot Buffalo team. But they were also had a lot of turnover, too. It's hard to do that with the rookie quarterback. They had that Tampa team on the ropes that year as well. If you recall, Brady's first game back, come up a little short, though, had them on the ropes. So going back to this Carolina team, they're up here 7.5 wins. They're probably a 7-win team, but they're going to be a fun 7. Just because they're going to win 7, that don't mean that they can't be in 12. That don't mean that they can't be in 12 games or something like that. I got them finishing in that division. I got Atlanta doing better, and I've got New Orleans winning the division. Remember, New Orleans got Derek Carr, and they have a veteran defense. John Gruden is helping mold Carr into this offense. Remember, Gruden is being brought back. I think that's a really good thing. I'm into forgiveness of people, what they said and everything. But I do think that Carr and that team now, of course, Dennis Allen, he could make some bad moves there, and they could potentially lose some games that they're not supposed to, and he get canned, and then they have to pick up another coach somewhere. Maybe they try to, bring in a John Gruden, right? That would be wild. Wouldn't that be wild? But all that being said, Mike Thomas is back up there with New Orleans. Chris Olave, very good player. I think New Orleans will probably win that division is my whole point. Atlanta, I looked at this running back they got out of Texas, and I look at the Al Jazeera guy, and Bijan Robertson is the name I was trying to think of. And I look at all their free agent defensive players, they'll probably finish second. And I think this feisty Carolina team, this fun team to watch here, will finish third. And I think Tampa, with their awful coaching, defense, and Baker Mayfield, mainly quarterback play, will finish in last place. And I believe Tampa will be competing with Arizona for that number 1 pick. But this is going to be an interesting team, Pickles. Yeah, and Doug Peterson. So you got Frank Wright here, who's coached everybody. You got a guy like when you get a young quarterback and you really want to overcompensate him with a good running game, and I prefer if he's a young quarterback and he did not have a pro-style system, he's not an all-world guy, you prefer him to have an offensive-minded head coach. I was talking to a guy at work today, and he was talking about he's a big Florida Gator fan. I said, well, I'm sorry to hear that, sir. He kind of laughed, and we were talking about Anthony Richardson, and he said, well, I think this guy may be a total bust. And I'm a Florida fan. I said, well, there's hope for him because he's playing under Shane Steichen, the offensive coordinator for Jalen Hurts there, Philadelphia. And he also used to be the offensive coordinator under Justin Herbert. Then when he left, Herbert took a dip. And then, of course, he got back up to par. So it's a lot of it is the system year round. So Frank Wright, I think he will get, if it's there, and judging by the fact that he's already picked up this offense, he knows the playbook, he's got that seasoned veteran thing, I think he's going to look good. And with Frank Wright, that helps even more. So Wright had, with a guy like Andy Dalton, there's no way I would say they made Bryce Young the starting quarterback. Not even before training camp starts. I don't think that was one of those owner pressure type of situations. I think the guy's really that good. He's got that quick release. And but again, it's going to be his height and small frame that's going to keep him keep a big question mark for me going forward. He's going to have to put on that weight like a Jalen Hurts and like the last two former Alabama quarterbacks, and get in that weight room and do those squats and learn how to get out of bounds and see how all this stuff works out for him. So lots to look into. Very interesting stuff. Okay, Zion Williamson, going back to the round ball. Williamson, now I know Ja Morant's had his troubles. I understand with the gun issue and everything, and also the immaturity stuff beyond that. Those of you who watched me for a long time know that I thought that Ja Morant was going to be the better player. I thought he was the more skilled player. He's just more immature. Zion Williamson, he didn't really get in trouble. He's just been getting made fun of. He's getting some criticism, your Jason Whitlocks of the world, but he's getting roasted over the internet. Last few days, it's been widely reported, and really because this chick put this out there, he posted a picture. He's impregnated this stripper on the internet. He's impregnated this woman that's a stripper, and then another woman who is works in porn. She's a porn actor, porn star, whatever you want to call her. She posts something and says, I may have your baby. And she's posting screenshots of stuff that he sent her. He invited her to move to New Orleans and everything. You're saying, what the bleep? What business is yours, Robert Butler? What business is it of anybody in the general public? And I think the fuss was about, and at the same week, just yesterday, also the great Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille was married at one time. He's had his issues, personal issues. It kind of made that news. And remember when Kobe says, I'm not like Shaq. I don't pay women off, talking about the woman in Eagle, Colorado thing. He took a shot at Shaq. So Shaq's had his issues outside the marriage. It was reported. And I think the difference is he's been hurt. He's not performing well. He's got weight problems, and the perception looks like that he's out here effing off like nobody's business, and that may be true. Remember, they've already signed him to a second contract. He's already got a monster contract. This guy ain't played even close to 82 games in a season here in Zion Williamson. But I think that a lot of that is perception. I've been watching the Bill, like I said, it's a 2-part thing, and I got a chance to finish the second part. I was watching it. I rewatched the first part today, and man, Bill Walton, the Pickles, the first 2 years, man, did he get it. He got it. There's a guy, because he grew his hair out. He didn't do this stuff when he was playing under Coach Wooden, but he grew his hair out very long. He had been rumored. I think he was pretty open about his. People kind of knew he was into the whole pot game, and he went to the Grateful. He was very caught up in the whole 70s hippie thing, and he's getting hurt a lot, kind of like Zion, his first couple of years. And one guy, Pickles, he hollers, "Get a haircut!" to some old man hollered that to him at the end of one of these documentaries. And then in year 3, he started hitting the weight room and cutting his hair, tightening his game up. And then, we got the Jack Ramsey coach, and then the rest is history. They go on to win the championship. But like I said, winning cures a lot of the embarrassment stories, dating a porn star, stuff like that. One guy said, well, how come Jimmy Garoppolo didn't get some punk on the internet said, is it because he's black? I said, I started to say something to the clown, but I didn't. I wanted to say, no, Jimmy Garoppolo did get a lot of criticism. He got internal criticism and he got external criticism from dating the porn star. But my thing is, listen, the guy's 22 years old. The old adage is 22, 23, I think, actually. the Idle Minds of Devil's Workshop, right? Been rehabbing for a long time. Got free time on his hands. I could do the same thing. I go to church and all this, but I tell my friends in church, I said, let me tell you guys something. I'm not perfect. Okay? This phone right here, there's so many women on this phone. And being a Zion Williamson, if he likes a chick's picture and they see his check mark by his name on Instagram, they're going to inbox him. They're going to inbox the guy, and one thing's going to lead to another. And, he's going to have to be more careful with that. But I'm not here to judge him, because I think I could get, caught up into a situation like that. Young guy, a lot of testosterone. He wants a lady. And I'll say this. You say, well, how do you get rid of it? Well, you got to get your head right, for one thing. And I've talked about this before in this program. Whether it's Zion Williamson, a pro athlete, or anybody, or myself, for instance, you have to map out your day. He was a vegetarian. They didn't like that either. And you have to map out your day. You can't work out, watch basketball tape 24. I'm not saying that. But some coaches might not agree with me here. And I know that Kyler Murray in the NFL, there was a clause about him watching more film and all that. But after the work is done, being a single guy, I'm 41 single. So I've been in Zion's situation before. He might want to take up some other hobbies like playing video games. That will keep him out. Get him a steady chick. He'll have 7 kids like Sean Kemp. You're gonna have to get some. And I've talked to my friends. I've ordered the Sega remastered, the mini Sega, and I've got the Nintendo thing. I've cut back on my spending to make the sacrifice to get you this great program 5 nights a week. And instead of going out here and work, so I'm making less money. So I can't go out and spend a lot of money and go chase women. It's fun, but it can be costly. He didn't grow up in my era generation. I'm 20 years difference, almost 20 years, almost, where we were scared to death to not use protection when sex and stuff. He's a younger generation. He doesn't get the heat. He's getting heat about this, but he doesn't get the heat that someone of my generation would, because of protection and stuff like that. And the Sean Kemp stuff with guys having a bunch of kids. That's how, even though you've got money, child support, that stuff, it goes by a percentage of your income. That's what a lot of people don't understand. Some of my younger viewers. I remember John Claude Van Damme said, man, I got to pay blah, 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 hundreds of thousands per month in child support. I guess I got to make more movies. You keep doing that. Eazy-E, the great rapper, Eric. I was watching something on him, Last 24 Autopsy show, and a documentary on him the other day. And that dude had 8 women, he had 11 kids by 8 different women. A lot of course, he blew up young, kind of like an athlete. Rapper, took off very young, still late teens, early 20s, even mid 20s, that kind of money. You think you're invincible. It's fun. But the truth of the matter is, it will catch up with you financially. It will catch up with. So I think he's got to, hopefully somebody in his circle say, man, you got to get, listen, I know that them fast girls are better sexually. See, this is real talk here. This is a real talk show. This ain't Fakeville where I preach to you. I go to church, but I'm not the pastor. And the pastor ain't Jesus either, right? So, and that's why these guys go to this stuff. I mean, we get these women because they're, if you get the chick that she's a choir quality woman, she not be as sexually experienced as one of these women. And I was listening to Jason Whitlock talk about that as one of these women. But that being said, you got to start thinking about who's successful in this league you got to think about yourself 10 years from now. It's hard for a 23-year-old to do, 24-year-old to do. 20 years from now, 30 years from now, you don't want to be a story of a guy who made a lot of money and now you are broke and working regular jobs at a car rental place or working security. Man, when you was Zion Williams, oh man, you know, you don't want to be one of them guys. I had to do jobs like I've done. You say what's less likely for basketball players? I'm telling you, there have been basketball players with those guaranteed contracts go broke. Who's your guy? Corey used to play with the Boston Celtics in the late 90s, early 2000. Walker, and was it Antonio Walker? I think was it Walker? He went broke, totally broke. You know, Luke Skywalker went broke. So it can happen even with these guys, but it's mainly because his watching South Park and smoking weed. Yeah. So that you know, that's his weight getting up. You know, that gets your weight up. He's got a good relationship with his stepdad now, like Shaq. Shaq stepdad, the Sarge. He got on to Shaq. He said, "Man, you're out here screwing up, man." And he really he looked at his stepdad as a father figure. I say this because Shaq was with the woman known to be fast, a social media influencer this week as well. Nobody said anything. Shaq's successful. Shaq's got rings. But Shaq realized you can do this sort of thing, but you got to keep it at an arm's length. And not keeping it at an arm's length is getting these women pregnant and all this stuff, and then have to do that. But also, so my thing is, he's going to have to manage his time better. And a good friend will say, hey, listen, man, even if you got to go get one of these video game consoles, you got to manage your time all the way up. Find one lady tiger, and y'all work out the other stuff to get her experience like one of these fast women, because money can go quickly, even big money, because again, judging by what I know, because I don't have kids, but I got a lot of friends that do, and it goes by your income on that. So he's been made a fool. And you say, well, is this a blessing in this guy? Well, possibly, because embarrassment gets a guy's attention, and motivation. He's getting hounded right now. He's it's not really criticism. It's getting more made fun of than anything. So even though he's the first overall pick, he signed a big extension, you know, a few bad investments and some baby mamas out of wedlock. And before you know it, you're scrambling for money and foreclosing on homes, buddy. Driving an Escalade and living in a trailer park. Yeah, that is true. That's ghetto fabulous. Like some of the friends that I've grown up with that I know ever so often. So, you know, again, get you another hobby, man. Use it for positive motivation, straighten up your life. And remember, you know, these women, just because they're fast and all that, you embarrass them and humiliate them, hurt their feelings, they're going to embarrass you, put those screenshots on. That's another tip to the young guys. Don't say anything to any woman through email, text message that you don't want the world to see. Remember, Brett Favre sent a picture of his genital areas to a woman when he was with the Jets. I don't know what the bleep Brett Favre was thinking, but they can't you know, the read your rights, you know, the Miranda rights, Pickles. They can and will use against you into a court of public opinion. Never send anybody. I don't care how much you think you trust her, something that's going to get you in trouble where she can screenshot it and use it against you. You know, a lot of these guys, they don't care until they do care, until it kind of comes back and has some egg in your face. So anyways, I hope the guy gets his weight squared away. I'd like to see the Pelicans bounce back, you know. But it is what it is. I know it's a common thing. I think it's more out there now because we got social media. I understand that Wilt Chamberlain, didn't he sleep with 1,000 women or everything? And then Magic talked about it, wrote a book about it. Yeah, he also got HIV. He was scared to death that he was going to die too. So things can come back and bite you the other way. So if you guys like the show, share the show. I'll be back tomorrow with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez. I'm going to get his opinion about that Jacob deGrom situation and what he thinks about some of these topics we've been covering all week. Again, I'll be back here, same place, same time. Please share the show. If you have not subscribed to the Sports Scope YouTube channel, make sure and subscribe to that. And I will see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, here on Sports Scope.